Welcome to the 10th anniversary of Scala's annual logistics debate, supported by the West Midlands CILT, Toyota Materials Handling and DHL. With over 150 senior supply chain and logistics professionals attending, the topic is, what will be the most significant development in supply chain and logistics in the next 10 years?
Over the time, Scala's grown a lot. We're doing more and more consulting work each year, and despite the current economy, business for us is really successful at the moment. Added to that, for those that you don't know, we're setting up an office in China next year, so expanding there, where we're going to be doing some training and development with universities and with companies, and working with regional government and companies in terms of providing consulting work as their internal markets develop and they need to develop their distribution infrastructures. So that's an exciting development for us. The other aspect to our business is the Fresh Connection. For those that don't know, the Fresh Connection, it's an interactive learning simulation. Waitrose won the top retailer award. We had Norbert Dontersongel won the top logistics company. Third place went to Mondelez, which is Kraft Cadbury here. Second place to a company called Borg Warner, and first place went to Kimberly Clark. So a well-deserved victory from Kimberly Clark, and we've got three of their team here tonight, if they'd like to take a bow. We've got Ben Bout, Michael Jarvis and Chris.
Scala used an interactive voting system to gather views prior to the debate.
I think we've got two winners there. We've got number 9 and number 10, which is consumer behaviours and increased supply chain flexibility. That's interesting. Closely followed by internet shopping. That's interesting. So let's see what happens at the end.
Not only is biomass much less dense than coal, but you also need more weight to obtain the same calorific value. This means that the mass of material increases significantly. So, in the longer term, I expect HS2 will provide more rail freight capacity. And other developments in logistics might include self-guided vehicles, alternatives to diesel, and eventually, God forbid, logistics companies with truly diverse boards of directors. But while I'm not holding my breath for any of those to make a significant impact before 2023, I do expect to see the development of a just-in-time customer service philosophy in the UK rail freight market, which will change the way we do business.
Both manufacturers and retailers will, as usual, look very intensely at the supply chain to drive costs out. So I think supply chains will get faster, both in terms of manufacturers serving retailers, so 364 days a year, day 1, day 2, smaller, more frequent, will just continue to escalate. So the fixation on value is the first key consumer behaviour. The second one is the values. So whilst value will remain critical, values is also critical and will grow in importance. To quote Justin King at Sainsbury's, the credit crunch has not led to a values crunch, but to a strengthening of values, irrespective of income. And then, of course, we had the horse meat scandal a few months ago. So although 99% of all products proved to be clean, the impact on consumer trust was enormous. Security of supply will be critical. Food chain collaboration, more vertical collaboration. There is significant change, and there will be continued significant change, and that will be driven by consumer behaviour.
We're in the age of overshoot. We've overshot the capacity of the earth to provide our resources and clean up our water, soil and air. Demand is outstripping supply. Population growth has been exponential, nearly doubling in the last 40 years. And over the next 20 years, a massive increase in the consumer classes is predicted. An extra 3 billion people with discretionary income to spend as they choose. Secondly, we're running out of cheap resources. The age of cheap energy of cheap everything is over. Take some materials, apply energy and labour to make a product, which is then usually discarded at the end of its first life. This linear economy, take, make, pollute and waste, is an expensive method. It means recirculation, bringing end-of-first-life products and packaging back for local repair, remanufacture or recycling. This is a call for revolution, rethinking and redesign.
I think the fundamental way in which we buy IT to service supply chains and logistics will change. The second thing I think that will change is logistics providers and 3PLs and the way that we move products. So engaging with some of the smaller 3PLs, I think people have to change, and it's great that Howard Tennants are here today, who we put our business with. And I think big 3PLs are going to have to change their approach to the way that they do and manage logistics, because it's no longer pallets in and pallets out. It's little and often because the retail space just isn't there. So for me, the biggest changes in the next 10 years are going to be in IT. In logistics, the fundamental way we move products will change. And in people, we have to somehow, I'll quote last year's, we have to take the grey hair out of logistics and make it really exciting for people.
There are more and more consumers, and a lot of those consumers are moving into the ranks of being able to be classed as a consumer, that increasingly that in itself will mean that goods start to flow more to the east. We've now moved into a phase where people's careers will turn much more international. The good news for us there is that we go into this new environment as things move over to the east, in that we do have a knowledge base and an expertise that is very valued in the world. Our experience in integrated supply chains, our experience in that knowledge around risk management, all the other things that we are actually probably the world's experts on. And they want that expertise in their new environments.
So the future in many ways will be great for the consumer and less so for the retailer. And the traditional supply chain that has supported retail over recent years will be significantly challenged, because demand now can materialize at multiple different locations. You no longer can simply run a supply chain from point of source, through manufacturing, through wholesaling, to a retail outlet, because the consumer will select a product and create that demand as and when it suits them. And that demands far more responsive, far more agile, increasingly agile and flexible approaches, by great accessibility, by outstanding service, by great product, by great people, underpinned by great curation of the product journey. And fundamentally, underneath all of that, by real insight, absolute insight into customers' demands and customers' desires. So the future is about the consumer. But more importantly, it's about supply chain professionals coming into the center of the organization. And as former US President Lyndon Johnson said, yesterday is not ours to recover, but tomorrow is ours to win or lose.
I don't think any one bit of technology is going to change the world. I don't think any one bit of investment is going to. I'd love to believe that suddenly all our roads are going to be declogged of traffic and we'll magically be able to move things around quickly. We won't. That's not going to happen. The really smart way to do that is through collaboration. You've got to look up through the supply chain, you've got to look down through the supply chain, and you need the skills to do that. It's not good enough just to understand the theory. The really smart businesses these days are saying, who can most cost-effectively get that from A to B? It might be me, it might be an asset I own, it might be an asset someone else owns. I'll do jobs for them, they'll do jobs for me. We'll do it in the most cost-efficient way we possibly can. Having the trust and operating in a really collaborative way. So we're going to move away as supply chain professionals from focusing mostly on technical skills and a bit on the softer side. And the real winners are going to be the ones who get great on the collaboration and the trust and the softer skills.
Does it matter? Whether it's the retailer, whether it's the consumer, whether it's the boss, whether it's the customer. Change is the inevitability in the world we live, and the speed is increasing. And do you know what? It's only going to get faster. It's about availability, it's about offering, it's about reliability, and it's about that personal service. Change and the speed of change will become a way of life. It will get faster, The agile will succeed. Let's not debate who started it.
We are in a world where there is massive change happening around us as we speak, in every aspect of life, in politics, on a global macroeconomic scale, in technology, in science, bioscience. The whole world is changing around us, and I think we recognise that. As a result of the change in consumer behaviour that's become evident because of this release of the latent desire through technology, the issue for us as supply chain practitioners is to demonstrate, retain, build the flexibility and agility that we need to be able to respond effectively to those changes. I think this change is more complex, more complicated, and more difficult to predict. So I think those three things of changing consumer behaviours, the technology and supply chain flexibility and agility are the three key themes that came out from those. But collaboration and all of that stuff is going to be part of the recipe set of tools and responses that we bring to staying alive in this game, which is about responding to consumer needs. I did actually put on my presentation 3D printers, because I think it's not garlic bread that's the future. I do think it's 3D printing.
The analysis on conclusion of the post-debate voting showed consumer behaviours as having the most significant impact, with a considerable increase in votes, followed by supply chain flexibility, then environmental sustainability, which also had a considerable increase.
It's been a really interesting debate, and thanks for everything that you put into it tonight, just on behalf of everyone that's in the room. I think it's been an excellent debate. And things like, I made some notes as we went through: diversity, complexity, flexibility, demands, collaboration, environmental sustainability, all things that we all talk about in our businesses every day. But come the revolution, come the way that we do things, all the names, the collaboration, the game changes, the East movers, all the things that have been mentioned tonight, I think are really, really important. So on that note, thank you very much, and enjoy your suppers. Thank you.